Please work. Whoa. So everything should be working. Let me check. Yep, it does work. So hello everyone. I know it has been a while since I last streamed. It was like a month or something like this, but I have been playing Elden Ring. And I did not feel like streaming, so I also needed to figure some things for the painting out. And this is where we left off the last time. I am doing the Cyclop, and I plan to finish on it soon, but I also wanted to refine a bit of a background. So I have been searching for some photo textures, because after like this long break, previously I thought the background looks kinda okay-ish. Now when I see it, I think it looks kinda like shit. So I searched for some photo textures to actually improve the painting and everything. And I found this photo that I feel really nicely matches what I have and what I want. Also the light direction matches really nicely, and I do believe in the background it looks really nice. And it also brings this cool brown hue to the background, so like you can see the different planes of what is happening. So I will start by adjusting the photo texture in the background, and I feel it looks kind of okay. And also what is kind of cool is this cloud in here. So for different monsters I can do different clouds and whatnot, but I guess I will do it off stream after finishing all the creatures. So yeah, the background might not be that uniform. And yeah, this is pretty much all. So as always, if anyone has any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. If you have any paintings that you would like me to see or paint over, send me a link in the Twitch, I believe, or anywhere. And yeah, and if anything is not working, also let me know. So it will be cool. And yeah, here we will go with adjusting the thing. So the first thing that I want to do is to match the values. So as you can see now, the thing is way too dark. The sky is way too dark, so I would like to use some curves, and for that I should need to use a display capture. So you can see actually what am I actually doing. And recently I have been learning some cool tricks. Let me also match it about the usage of curves in the painting. So actually a really cool and hefty trick is you can use this hand, you can touch on the area you want to like bring up, and you can just slide it to the top or to the bottom. And as you can see, it automatically adjusts the curve, and it makes it look okay. Actually now when I zoom out, it looks perfectly fine just after like this one simple adjustment, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm going to use it a lot when I'm working on anything. And now I'm going to also mask the thing, and by masking it I can remove the hard edge in here. And what is cool by masking is I can do something like this, but if I decide I need to bring it back, I just paint with black on a mask and it will be working. So let me turn off the display capture and go back to the Photoshop. So it gives me a lot of like control over the thing, and I can really turbo easily blend everything that is happening in here in the painting with the background. I'm not going to paint over a lot over this photo. I think it looks really good. I am going to adjust the amount of details on it so it won't be as like photo-y. It won't look as a photograph that much. And a really easy and a really cool trick to do it is to use filter, blur gallery, and do a surface blur. So let me display capture again. Surface blur basically blurs the surface without blurring the edge. So I can now just try, or I can press cancel because the preview is quite heavy on the entire thing. So let me cancel it. I will select a small portion for it. Blur, surface blur. and it's, yeah, it is faster. So as you can see, I can increase and decrease the threshold, and by radius, you can see how much it does simplify the background basically. So the lower I go with the pixels, or the more I increase the threshold, the different effect I will get. And by some like adjusting here and there, like 3 or 4, basically gets rid of all the like really fine details. And increasing the threshold does what? It does in this scale absolutely nothing. So this is one way to getting rid of the thing in the background. Other thing that you can do is to go to filter gallery, and with filter gallery, if it decides to open up, I can use artistic cutout and increase the number of levels, edge simplicity, well, to this, and edge fidelity, well, to something like this. And this will look kind of ugly, but it gives you a nice graphic shapes to work with, so you can just select them and paint over them if you want to do something like this. In here you can actually do quite a lot of cool stuff, but usually it works. It does not look really good right on, but I will go on with the surface blur. And I forgot to save it, but I guess 3 will be enough. I will press OK. And as you can see, it got rid, like a lot of details got pretty much lost. And from the small things like those posts, I'm just going to paint over them, so I won't need to worry of any like objects being here that I don't want in here to be in the first place. And also what I might do is to no, to make everything into a smart. No, I don't want to do it. Okay. Window arrange, new window for troll rendering, arrange to a vertical. And yeah, and now as you can see, I can have the preview, like the full screen preview. Let me also turn on this one. If you go to window, works, arrange, new window for anything, and then go to up vertically, you basically have the same file opened twice. And what it does, if now I will do like, oops, let me just make the left side of a screen smaller. So now if I will do something like this in here, it will update on the left, which is really handy if you are like working on fine details, but you don't like to zoom in and out constantly. So what I want to do is I want to remove some of the ground from the photo, especially this hard edge, so it will look like the one area is blending into the other. And for this I might actually use some brushes that make some like lines and stuff like this. Later I will of course blur it and everything, and I'm still working with masks because working with masks allow me to like redo a lot of areas, but I wanted to have these lines, so, or maybe they are too delicate, maybe something a bit thicker would work better, something like this maybe. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. So yeah, so I can basically blend the photo into the painting itself, and later of course adjust it and whatnot to my liking, and make it look a little bit more like a painting. This is something that a lot of artists do, as far as I know. I used to care that I used to consider this a cheating in a sense, so, but why it does not paint? Oh, because it's set on multiply. I used to consider this a cheating if you use photos back in the days, but now I'm like, yeah, it can make my life easier, so I'm going to use it. It's absolutely okay to do so. And also I am using the photos from the from textures.com, so it's all legit and I can use the photos, which is also cool, because using photos that are copyrighted is meh. might cause some troubles and some problems in the future, but if you are using photos that are like free in a sense, or where you can buy a license for like a personal use or whatever, then absolutely go for it. It will be worth it. Also, for removing stuff like this that you don't like, just go for the spot healing brush tool. And if you are going to just select it, it will like remove the object that you don't want to be in here. I turned off the dude because I want to see the edges and I want to blend the entire photo nicely. And I'm constantly checking on the left side if the blend is going the way I want it to go. And I think it looks kinda ish. Okay-ish. So yeah, from other news, I found myself a way to kind of like make the streams a little bit more engaging for me and a little bit healthier in a sense, because I invested quite some time ago into electrical desks, electrical legs. So right now I'm standing and I can work standing, which is cool. And since I wanted to stand for at least 2 hours a day next to a PC, so I basically won't destroy my back or anything, or I will just have stronger ass muscles or whatever, then I can do it. And after 2 hours, if I will get absolutely tired by standing, then I can sit down and the stream will be over and I will like do two things in the same time. So it's healthy and I will learn how to draw and strengthen my muscles. And maybe not move a bit, but I would consider this like a slight workout because basically for the entirety for my entire life, I'm not sure how to like pronounce it, I have been sitting next to a PC, so like standing definitely will be a good idea to do so. And one of the coolest things also of this photo is it gives me a bit of those greens that I wanted to include somehow, but I had no idea how to do this. And yeah, and also in the photo I can adjust it to my liking, so I will be painting over the layer on top of it, all layers, so I can like work the edges how I want them to be. Let me turn on the Cyclop. And I can kinda like make it look a little bit more painterly, because if I'm using photos, I don't want them to look like photos, so I can kinda like fake the painterly effect on them, and it will look a little bit more uniform. It's not really staying true to the source material, so I'm kind of like trying to convince the viewer that I painted the background, which I did not. But in the end, the effect will be much better and much faster, because I also don't want to spend like 20 hours on like rendering some rocks in the background. Possibly I should, because this way I would learn how to do it like right, so I won't need to use photos, but it will allow me to get a relatively good quality really fast. And one of the coolest things of this photo is the correct hues for the sky, for the clouds. So I was not really a huge fan of those clouds in here. They looked a bit flat in my opinion, so now I can like safely remove them. And I will paint the sky behind the layer that I just did. And I feel this brush will do just right in terms of introducing the texture, because if you want your painting to look a little bit more interesting, it's really good idea to take some heavy textured brushes that leave like a nice brush stroke in the background. So for example, something like this is kind of okay-ish. So you won't have like this mathematically correct background, so it won't be like an extremely smooth transition. There will be some noise happening in the background, and also you can do a slight like color changes. So it's basically a really subtle thing, but in the end it will make the flat surface that basically is a sky. It is like a flat surface on an image. It will make it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more engaging. So yeah, this is a good thing. And for stuff like this, one of the things that I used to do was to take like a color from the ground, and I would kind of like add a color from the ground to like the uniform background. So adding those grays and whatnot a bit will also bring a nice variation for the colors in the sky. Again, it's extremely subtle. It's not something that I would always do, but usually if I can, I try to do stuff like this because it just works. It is just, I would say, a good thing to do. Also in my workplace, this is one of the things that they taught me, that making this variation on a surfaces just looks okay. And a lot of people who are much more advanced than me, I noticed, are doing something like this, using different techniques and different methods. A lot of people use the Smudge Tool, so they just take a smudge. Matthias Zemensky, I believe, does this. So it basically like blends together the colors from what you have, and it looks okay. So whatever works will be just fine. And one of the really small but subtle things, if the light source is on the left side, when I'm looking at it, the sun will be on the left. You can tell it by the light on the Cyclop. The left side of the sky should be slightly brighter than the right side of the sky. So it is, again, a really subtle thing, but in the end, it's the subtleties that make the painting look okay-ish. And honestly, I really like the more flat approach to the sky. I kind of like the blue shape around him, but I should overpaint the clouds a bit. And for example, for the clouds, I can show you the thing with the Smudge Tool, because this is a cool trick. So you basically take a Smudge Tool, you take a brush that has a lot of jumps, so you can visibly see like the brush strokes. And I am not sure which brush will be okay. This one may be good for it, but the trick is you can sample all layers. It will cause for the brush to like sample through everything. So as you can see, when I'm like moving in here, it's trying to blend taking the colors from the character. So I don't want the character to be involved into blending. So this way I can make like a layer, increase the strength for it, and when I'm now blurring, as you can see, it takes all the layers beneath it. And if I turn off everything, you can see this is the layer that basically is created, and it's on the separate layer, so I can always turn it on and off, and it gives a lot of control, especially if you are blurring on the background. So this brush does kind of suck for it. And this brush would be cool, but it has this small tool in here, which indicates that it will only work with the brush tool, which is kind of stupid, but this is the brush that I downloaded from somewhere over the web. Oh, you can see it, display capture. If you have this like icon small of a brush in here, and you can see it, then it means it will only work for the brush, which is stupid, as I said, but whatever, it will do. So let me go as, and maybe this brush will work nicely, and it kind of does, but it's not artistic enough. So in here, let me just test it a bit more. Oh, I think you can see what is happening right now. So I can turn it off and on. If I don't like the current effect, I can just remove it and search for a better brush. Usually the harder the brush is, the darker the trail that it leaves, the stronger the effect will be. But this one works kinda okay-ish, but looks a little bit too much like hair. The hair from the head. This one is kinda cool. It does show the idea of what it does, so you can really nicely see how it blends together. This is actually really fine for a small adjustment. So as you can see, for stuff like this, when you want to like introduce some like edges, if you like scribble a lot with it, it will give you some really cool effects. I might actually use this one because it does leave like this really distinctive, like kind of like hatching type of a line work. And if you go like small enough, you can really nicely work on the edges and everything. So yeah, and also for the live streams, I would try to be a little bit more like present in here and be a little bit more consistent with the live streams. But as some of you may know, if there's like anyone in here right now, I have moved to a new place and I still have quite a lot of things to do, and it's kind of like, let's say, mentally exhausting. And not always I do have like not only the will but the brain power to like stream and do stuff like this. So I am not always like 100% like feeling to stream, but now a lot of like stuff is already dealt with, so I'm clearing a lot of space in my brain so I can do more and more things. And yeah, so long story short, this is how it works. So I will try to be, as I said, a bit more active in here, because I do like the streams. I do like the fact that they kinda, yeah, the only sucky thing about the new Photoshop is the fact that it's constantly freezing. I have no idea what they again fucked in the update, but to like reopen everything. This is actually a good thing if you are doing those orange type of a things, because if one canvas freezes, you can just turn it off and it should unfreeze, but it's extremely annoying. And it always like amazes me how they can like do something like this. I wrote on the forums of Adobe that I have this problem. A lot of people have this problem. No one from the staff seemed to have this problem, and the fix is basically uninstall everything, reinstall everything, and it does work for like a day, and then it does not. I have no idea what it is. I have not been updating Photoshop for quite some time since I made this work. I have not updated the drivers, so nothing should like broke, but it does without any apparent reason. I have not the slightest clue what does it, but yeah, but they know better. I wonder when they are going to fix those basic things. And recently, a friend of mine also came over to the city, basically to visit my like cousin or uncle, depends like how we say it. But he had an iPad Pro, and I had an occasion to draw a bit on an iPad, and as I thought, it is extremely pleasant. This tool is amazing, so I was considering like getting one, or maybe saving a bit more for a Cintiq, because I feel I'm getting kind of tired of drawing on this like small old vacuum tools. I feel like actually having a canvas in front of me and just like having the brush strokes follow my hand would be a good step forward to develop my skills, or to at least like move my brain into a better direction with them. But yeah, but those things are unfortunately expensive, so I would have to wait a bit before I do it. Yeah, but now looking at the background, I do like it much more. So if you compare, the jump is quite significant, I would say, in terms of quality. I don't really like this mountain. I feel it's a bit too big, so I will have to like limit its size. And the cool thing is, again, with the photos and everything, you can just like trim it, just paint over it, and it should be more or less be fine. The light won't change on the areas that you have, just the outer shape will change. And I don't want this guy to be like so eye-catching. I want the background to be a little bit more like subtle and, let's say, it's boring. So as you can see now, it stabilizes everything a bit more across the entire canvas. And if I were to add some more clouds, this might actually be kinda informative for you. If the horizon line is somewhere in here, this is like more or less where I want it to be. And if I would do like even the lazy perspective grid, this is basically like 1-point perspective because I'm just dealing with something that is in the center of a screen. So I like looking at the Cyclop standing in front of him. So it won't make any sense for me to like place perspective lines in here or something like this. I can actually, this is a simplification, but I can draw some squares in 1-point perspective and draw the shape of a cloud. So for example, if I would decide I want a cloud in here, I can kind of, for example, do something like this, that I draw a square. Let's say a square in here. Hopefully you can see it. I can draw the shape of a cloud, so I want it to be something like this, and then I can just take it and place it in the perspective. So as you can see, it will distort the shape, and more or less this will be like a proper shape for the cloud in this place. If I want it to be a bit more like wide or anything, I can do it just like this. And to paint this type of a cloud, I can just like draw the shape of the cloud in here. So something like this should work. And then in here, for example, I can just like color pick. And the colors will be almost the same. They should be slightly darker, but I can just like color pick them first. And then I will just adjust them based on the values. So I will just move the slider a bit to the low side. So, well, yeah, so this is the cloud, how it more or less should look like in this place. Given the fact that I would like do the same cloud that I have in the background. And I could play a bit more with the perspective of it. So for example, in here, I can make a cloud that goes like this. So it will show a bit more of the perspective of the shot, but I don't want too many clouds on the shot. So I think I will remove all of them and just leave the one in the background. I kind of do like it that this is like the only cloud in a shot, because it brings a bit more white and it generally looks kind of okay-ish. This is this layer, so yeah. I can start fixing some small parts. And now I also want to kind of fix the foreground elements, because these are also important. And I wanted to increase the density of the grass, because it feels like it's a bit too rough in some spots, and I can see like too many circles from the round brush that I have been using previously, and the shapes were not blending nicely enough. So I'm just drawing a lot of straight lines. And also, if anyone is interested, I usually say about this, or I forget to say about it in the end of the stream or something like this. I did open like quite some time ago a Discord channel. It's kind of dead. This is also what I always say, because I don't really have that much time to like manage it properly. But if you just want to share your artworks or maybe get some critique from me like off screen, then feel free to like join. The link is in the description, and I might be able to help you a bit. And you maybe be the person that will resurrect the channel a bit more, since I can't really do it really nicely. I usually forget about even the Discord. So it's like I'm trying to check it like once a day, but sometimes I just forget about it because I get too invested into other things. But there's a chance there will be some people are really active in there, especially Peanut Butter. He posts a lot of stuff in there. So maybe at some point I will just gather his stuff and just do a massive paint over everything. It will be also a cool idea. And maybe if a lot of people, like if enough of you would post their artworks in there, maybe I will just like do some streams where I will do just paint overs. It would also be cool. I tried to do this like back in the days. So I would just like grab, you will just send some artworks for the critique, but the format that I wanted to do it then was way too time consuming because I wanted to record it as a separate video. And it really bit me in the ass because it was just way too time consuming. It was too demanding from me, so I never like managed to properly do this format. And I even think I removed that old video. So yeah. And also recently I noticed if I ever was in the grace of YouTube algorithm, now I completely fell off the grace for not streaming or not doing stuff. So I will have to regain the trust of the YouTube algorithm. So if you are watching this like in the future or whatever, if you can just drop a comment or whatever, even if you are a bot, it might help, possibly. So yeah, I think the ground is now a bit more nicer. There are not many areas that feel that sketchy. Yeah, so I'm not sure about the clouds in here. Later I will give them a second thought. I will be adjusting the background a bit for while doing every single other character, so this is like the element that is most prone to be changed and to evolve with everything. Because for example, with the troll, well, with the troll I kind of added some grass and everything, but I feel the troll looks much nicer on this background than on this one. It looks like an improvement. And everything thanks to a nice photograph. Who would have thought? So yeah. And for the Cyclop, a friend of mine, Nick Acuna, he is a friend from my workplace. This is the human scale, yep. This is this Cyclop, yeah. The perspective, this is also the reference that I got from Lee, because I really liked how he does the ground. I tried to emulate it. This was basically shown on the first stream, but I just couldn't get it to look as nice as he does. But basically, if I could say, this is like a study of Lee. If anyone is watching only this one, this is Lee. So this is a bit of a copy. Yeah, basically this is like a study and a copy of him, because I do really like his style and his artworks. So this is this, but this was the armor. This is the feedback. Yeah, Nick Acuna was kind enough to give his feedback for this dude, so I would know what to do with him. And then I can actually open this as a new file. Hello TYPHON, thank you for subscribing. I have no idea why still things from Diablo plays when I have the subscription. I thought I changed it, but it turns out I did not. As you can see, this is the feedback that he gave me. I forgot about the shadow on the thigh, which is kind of embarrassing because I remembered about every other shadow on here. I even reminded myself of the wrong shadow on the head. But a really cool pointers is, I'm not sure what his attitude is. Is he afraid of, is he angry? His body language is tough to decipher. So this is kind of like a good critique, because it's true. It's really hard to do what he does, but my goal was to make him a little bit awkward. So I feel it fits to what I wanted to achieve. It might not be the best decision, but it is what I wanted to do with him. Background out until you figure out the design. Yeah, I need to improve the design a bit more, so this is okay. And to tell his story. It's a bit hard to tell his story because this dude is basically like a unit, like one of many. It is a special unit, but I also don't want to add tons of different things to him. So I don't want to make him like the one special type of a guy, but I want to make him a bit more like casual creep. So when they will be standing in, let's say, as 20 of them or whatever, they would of course have different wraps and everything, and the proportions might be a bit different, but they won't have like this personal something. But maybe I will add like some bones or stuff like this, because this is something that always looks okay, so I will consider the bones. And the best thing in this feedback, in my opinion, is the different lighting to highlight a bit more the face and the arm and the chainmail, and to give a different temperature to different elements. So for example, the knees and the hands and the elbows will have a different colors. This is also related to the stuff that, for example, in the elbows, like as you can see, it's much more pinkish in my elbow is much more pinkish, and my nose and lips and everything have a bit of a different hue. So in art, it's generally a good idea to push it even further. So you kind of overdo it, so it looks more readable. It's a little bit more obvious. So the skin is thinner the skin is a bit thicker, but also the blood vessels, I believe, are a bit closer to the body on the knees and everything, on the fingers and whatnot, especially in the heat, because the blood rushes all over the body then. So I will adjust the colors. No help. So what I will do now is I will just use some flat colors in here to give some variety to it. Usually mixing red with some like purples and the other things, like maybe even some blues. It might work a bit. It will kind of look like a bit of a colder spot. But having different hues of reds and everything might be a good idea. So it won't be as a uniform of a change. It will actually bring a little bit more color to it. The nose might be a bit more reddish, but I don't want to overdo it. One thing that I really dislike, that I always really disliked, was the red nose type of a thingy. Like everybody has like this turbo red nose, but the ears definitely can be much more reddish, because on the ears you have a lot of tiny blood vessels, and this is also the reason why if you are glowing with light behind your ear, it is red, because you basically can see the blood, and the area is thin enough for the blood to be like visible through it. And on the hands, it's kind of obvious. He might even have some like permanently dirty hands with blood or whatever, because he does look like a type of a guy that would eat like his maybe even companions. So the bandages and everything also might be a bit dirty, and if you are making blood on bandages, it's also a good idea to turn off the simple layers to reduce the blur strength, to blur the stains, because this way the stains will look a little bit more believable. Because if you like make a blood stain or any stain on a material, it will like spread over and blur, so it should be a bit softer. So I will start with the color, temperature, and then I will add some light. And a really good way to add colors to your model is to just go through every single blending mode of a layer. And now you can see it by I'm going over the soft lights, overlays, and everything. And one of those would look okay. Hello, Mikołaj. So soft light looks okay, but as far as I know, adding the multiply layer is the proper way of adding the color temperature. So I will add multiply and adjust the colors with the sliders, so it won't be as obvious. And if any area is a bit too like not right, then I can just like adjust the color with sliders after like selecting those. So for example, all the blood on the bandages, I can expect it to be a bit darker because it's like dried out, and now it's a little bit too purple-ish. So I want to bring the more red yellowish hue to it, this area in particular. Yeah, so it looks like this. If I would set it to normal, those are like the colors. And one of the really cool things that you can do, if you, for example, go to the multiply and you want to, for example, color pick this exact color, but as you can see now, I'm color picking what is on his knee, is on color pickle to go from sample from all layers to the current layer. So it will allow me to color pick only the things that are on this layer, which allows me to further refine the colors. It's small trick, but since I learned about it, it's extremely helpful because it usually gives me a lot of control over the like multiply layers and everything. So yeah, it is a cool, definitely one of the cooler things that I do have. And for the light, I will just grab the all layers, the brightness of the sky, and change the light color to yellow, because we can say the sun is a bit more on the yellow side, so it should be like slightly brighter. And I can try to add more light to the character. Usually a good way to add light is by using screen blending mode. Sometimes hard light is really nice because it adds this like hue, a bit of a hue change. Pin light maybe sometimes, but usually linear dodge and screen are more than okay. So I would add screen and reduce the fill to 64% or something like this, and just start painting the light where it should hit the character. The problem with light only is the screen mode is that it will affect heavily the dark areas. So I need to be aware of this fact and not hit, for example, the head. So for example, something like this will make it like really bright. I don't think it is the case in the linear dodge. It is, but it leaves a bit more of a texture. But for example, in color dodge, as you can see, it just amplifies the color in the shadow, but I will leave it on the screen. Because as far as I know, it's a little bit more mathematically correct, but I can do this. And this is a really cool thing about the blend if. I know I'm repeating it for like the 100 times already, but maybe someone is new. If you go underlaying layer and go this, you can tell it to ignore the darker, like this value basically. So if I will go to the black and white view, I'm telling it now, don't ignore anything. Now ignore those blacks, ignore those grays, those whites, and it allows you to like mask it really quickly. So giving it, and also with the, if you press Alt and move it, it will blend it then nicer. So giving it a little bit of a blend is usually a good idea. So yeah, something like this should work quite nice. And it also will light up the things in a bit more natural way. As you can see in the Nick paint over, the arm is a little bit more yellowish. I can always add those yellow hues. He was a bit more, let's say, brave with the hue changes and everything. So maybe I will also try to be a little bit more brave. So I will, well, not like this. So I might add a bit more reds, like visible reds. And just like, and adjust it a bit more. And of course, after adding the light, I will also try to, maybe overlay would be okay. Yeah, the overlay actually seems to be a bit better. I know it's not the best layer type to add light, but then it kind of brings this shine. I feel the values might not be that big of a problem. It might be the lack of the shine on the face of this guy. So overlay actually might be a bit better for this task, because it will kind of affect the values in a different manner. So this is overlay, this is screen. So as you can see, screen is a bit more like straightforward. Overlay is a bit more subtle in this. So I think this is occasion where I can use the overlay layer. So it should be a bit more fine because it will affect differently different colors. So the brighter something is, the brighter it will get, and it will kind of treat the different materials a bit differently. So it might be actually a good idea to do it this way. And also this will allow me to actually adjust the brightness of some areas. Of course, if I want something to be brighter, I will just like increase the brightness of a color that I'm using, going a little bit more to the top left side of it, because if I'm increasing the brightness, then the color will be slightly more washed out. This is how the colors works. But yeah, something like this. Whoops. Small boops. I really like the small highlight that he added on a vein, on a bicep vein. So I'm going to also add it. I do enjoy this highlight. He did it a bit nicer, but I like how it looks. And he also darkened the shadows in the shady areas, so it does look a bit nicer. And the shadow, I will take the darkest hue of a sky that I have, and as Sam Smith did it in his tutorial, I'm just going to paint with it and put it to multiply. And if the color is too bluish, then I will like desaturate it a bit, because usually really simplifying the entire like logic behind it, the shadow will get a color of the biggest light source, and in this case the biggest light source is the sky dome, the blue thing, because it's basically like a giant scattered light source, and the reflected light from the below. So the shadows closer to the reflected light from the ground will be a little bit more like yellowish. But in here, as you can see, this shadow looks nice, and also it will blend kind of seamlessly to the self-casting shadow on the thigh, because nothing is casting the shadow on the thigh. It's like basically stopped being lit by the main light source. And now I can also like adjust where I want the shadow to fall. So the general idea with this cast shadow, if anyone wonders, it can also show you where the light direction is. Well, if from the side we have this arm like this, something like this, so this is like a side view for the arm. So in here we have those 3 fingers, and here will be the body, and here is the thigh. If the light goes like this, it hits the arm, and then it hits in here and wraps around. So this is basically like the shadow that I'm casting on this. So it's not like that I pulled it out of my ass, but there is kind of a logic behind it. And of course the angle of the light is coming from the light source. So looking at the hello Reynaldo, so looking at the references, you can pretty much nail down the angles and everything of the light and shadows. So yeah. And also shadows like in here will be slightly brighter than in here, because there's a lot of light that is reflected from the delt, and it like bounces off the cloth and it bounces back, and it makes this area a bit like just a bit brighter. Not a lot, but a bit. But some shadows in here can be easily much darker, because in here light would have a lot of problems to like bounce off effectively. In here this delt might get a bit darker. I like this darker shadow on the bicep. It is something that most likely I wouldn't do by myself, but looking at this one in here now, it makes me like, I kind of like this thinner kind of bicep that that does not seem like it's full. It's not like developed bicep, but it's like just like a skinny type of a bicep, and I kind of like it. But again, it's like a really subtle thing, so I might go back to this one. to constantly see it on the mini. But also I need to look at this one. Yeah, this area is also darker. So darken those areas. Whoops. And I do believe he made the fingers much darker. Not that much, but a bit. But on the fingers I will spend a bit more time just in a second because I want to kind of refine them a bit further. Because fingers are important. And I almost forgot. So as you can see, this is a bit too much, I feel. The shadows are also a bit too strong. Yeah, soon I will add like the general layer to adjust the values. I will make the bottom a bit darker and the top part a bit brighter. So I might do it as well right now. So I will grab a really bright color and just do something like this. And a bit of a darker color, but color like the ground. So it will like unify the colors a bit more. And though I want to connect this arm to the body, I can actually push it like in here. Now I can try to do like a soft light. So as you can see, it kind of decides to, okay. It kind of like pushes the values upward from the below. So if you can go, it kind of moves everything up. But it is a bit too strong. So, but even like 25% or something like this will slightly push the values up. And it should look a bit nicer. I do like how it looks like. But this hand, it cannot be in here. It needs to be outside because the finger is protruding. So I need to take the same adjustment to this hand and just duplicate it. And the same multiply also add to this hand. So exclusively to this hand. So I can like color pick from here. No. Is it a good layer? No, this is a shadow layer. How are you, Reynaldo? Long time no speak. Actually, everything is fine on your end. If anyone does not know, Reynaldo was on our talk in here, and I managed to royally fuck the live stream up because I turned off his microphone because I had no idea if I turn off his icon from the Skype, the miniature, because he had no cam, that it will mute him. So yeah, about like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something of the live stream with Reynaldo was people thinking that he does not have a microphone. So yeah, this is the story that I have with Reynaldo. And yeah, in my place, everything is cool, and thanks. I'm glad you like it. Nick is helping me. Was helping me with this one. He gave me a really nice feedback for it. And also one of the things that is really cool about Nick feedbacks is the fact that he is always posting a rugby players or a CrossFit players as a references. So it's nice. I really like this post that he has. I do believe he even sent something really similar for the troll. So if I open the troll in here, yeah, the post is kind of similar. But he also sent me a feedback with a rugby player for the troll. And also this layer, I feel like I should lay the light a bit more uniformly across the entire character, not only like on a strip, but a bit more here and there, so it would actually be much brighter. Like on the entire side where the light hits, not only on like a thin strip across the character. So yeah, I do believe it looks a bit nicer. I'm absolutely not sure about the values and everything on the leg area, but I just have to like live with it. But looking at it now, it does make the entire thing look a bit nicer. So whoops, I might just flatten it out. We started with something like this. Now it's like this. It's actually kind of close to finished, I would say. And now there will be a lot of just like refining and adding stuff to it. So also you can select current and below, which is kind of cool because if you have any adjustments over the paintings, for example, this is actually one of the coolest things. For example, you have screen, and I will make it like brutally obvious that it's like orangish, something like this, but you are painting under it. Normally, if you would take all layers, let me just go to the Photoshop all layers, it will select this orange hue and it will mess your colors up. But if you will go to current and below, then you can select everything that is underneath it and just paint with the exactly same color that you had without affecting the adjustment layer. So it's cool. It's definitely a cool thing. And also because I have not been standing next to my desk, I feel like my leg is kind of cramping. My left calf is not happy with me standing, but gotta train the muscles and everything. And also one of the things that I noticed that is really cool in terms of like increasing the quality of your painting and everything, to make it a little bit more realistic, is to add this like slightly brighter outer edge on something, because the light will like reflect from it. And I do believe it's called the Fresnel or Fresnel, I don't know how to pronounce it, but at this most extreme angle where you're basically like looking at something, stuff like in here will be basically acting like mirrors. So adding this like brighter edge to it might, I mean, not even might, it will increase the general feeling of a photorealistic. I can't make the entire sentence. It will make the painting look better, to put it simply. Whoops. So also on this stage, it is a good idea to just go over like the entire character to get rid of the artifacts like in here. So these are some like leftovers from the line art, because I usually tend to flatten the line art with everything. So this way I will make sure that I go over everything. And in some places, if you would leave a line art, so for example, like in here, like the small black line might actually improve the general quality of the painting, because it will kind of look like a small like shadow or something like this. But for example, on areas like here, I absolutely don't want to have any like black lines. In here, I just want to have the changes in colors and values. So I need to like work on those a bit more. So like having like this black outline will kinda kill the quality of it. I don't want to have any black outlines on the hands whatsoever, because they don't make any sense, to put it simply. And for the finishing touches on some characters, I really like this brush, this like one hard edge, one soft edge, because it's really easy with it to make those type of an like organic type of a feel, to add this organic type of a feel, because it really nicely allows me to make all the creases and everything. It's just like, generally speaking, it's just a good brush. It's also really nice to add ambient occlusion with it, because ambient occlusion tend to work the way that you have like a sharp edge and a soft edge, because you are mainly working with like a really deep shadows in ambient occlusion. So you are basically working with the shadows. So the more geometry you have packed in one place, the darker it will be in the edges. The harder it is for the light to bounce. As you can see on this cloth in here, I still do have quite a lot of lines. So yeah. Whoops, I can go like this. And the bottom part of the hand will really slightly reflect the light from the ground. It won't be that obvious, but it will be just a turbo slight touch of color. Even on this scale, it might be a bit too much of what I did right now, but sometimes overdoing it will make it look generally better. This knuckle to be lit in a bit better way. And if anyone would wonder, I'm not a master of drawing hands, but in this case I kind of wanted to make his hands a bit more disfigured, because this guy is big fella that basically shoots laser out of his eyes, and I can imagine him damaging his fingers while he's growing up. So like, for example, like removing part of his finger because he was like too stupid to understand what he was doing. So they might look odd, but there is kind of like a reason for it. In this case, it's kind of like masking, but not really the lack of skill. But it has like a reason why it looks the way it looks. Definitely, if I would draw just like a proper hand and then like damage it, then it would look much nicer. But well, you have to work with what you have and what you can do actually. And also one of the things that I have to tell you, like standing when you are working makes you hungry really fast. When sitting, I always forget about eating because I'm just like not hungry at all, but let me stand for like an hour, a bit over an hour, and I'm starving already. So it must be a bit healthy if my bowels start to work while standing. So many bonuses and everything for the standing desk. And now to figure out the design of this guy. This area can be brighter. Do I want to give him some bones? Because this is actually a type of a guy that I can imagine would like to wear some bones. And also let me look not on this one, but on this one. How Only treats the values. Basically as bright in the bottom as it is above. I really like also in his painting the dark shadows, like how crisp and sharp they are. And kind of like the void of the reflected light. In here you can see a bit of a reflected light. Also, it's kind of crazy how simply it's painted. It's just like mind-blowing. But he does have a bit of a sharper shadows here and there, so I might try to emulate it and also increase the quality in here. But it all boils down to the fact that if your colors are correct, if your like values and everything are correct, it does not matter how much, like if they are not correct, it does not matter how much like you will render it, it won't look okay. So the devil basically lies in the values and in the colors. So if the core is messed up, then the entire thing is like doomed to be messed up. It will look bad and you won't be able to save it with like fancy rendering and whatnot. Unfortunately, it's impossible to escape fundamentals, so tough luck. But you might try. And there's also a possibility that you will make so many mistakes, but you will perfect them to the the point where they will look actually okay-ish. They will still be mistakes. Like if you can call it a mistake, let's say it will be a valid, like, fundamental mistake. But there are chances you will actually pull it off to make it look decent. I have seen it actually many times that someone just was redoing the same mistake over and over and over and over again, to the point where this mistake was like actually it ended up being their style in a sense, just like their way of doing it. Actually, a lot of stylized things are just like things that are mistakes, like done to the point where it looks okay. So I don't want to bring up any names or whatnot, but maybe you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe not a mistake, but a rule, or maybe it's also hard to say the rule. It will be more like a suggestion ignored purposefully. So you know something should look like this and it should reflect the light like this, but you just ignore it on purpose, so you don't have to like worry about it. A bit more gold in here. For example, on this, oh, I'm not looking on the right thing. I was constantly checking the thing on the thing that was not changing. That was smart. I can see that this could get much brighter. So here I am checking the changes on something that does not change at all and thinking it is changing. Sometimes I surprise myself. And one of the things that I really wanted to add, like bolts. So this boots needs to be like tied with bolts. So otherwise you would like destroy them. So bit of a reflected light on the bolts. Just some touches, it does not need to be like perfect, and some highlights on them. So this is like outside the focal point quite a lot, and a lot of the boots will be actually covered in the grass, because I want him to be standing in the grass. Also, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I might run out of topics to talk about soon. If you want, I can tell you some stories, I don't know, from my life, but it's not extremely engaging, I would say, because mostly my topics now revolve around the renovations and everything, which is extremely boring if you are like not doing renovations for yourself. Like I remember when I was used to, I mean I still do, but when I was a bit younger and I used to attend some parties and some people were talking about the flooring or the tiles they bought or whatever, I used to think like, fuck, this is so boring. I don't want to listen about it. It's just boring. Like, entertain me with a different story or whatever. But I do know it was like a huge part of their lives then. Hello, Dodger4. I know it was like a huge part of their life then. So I understand it, and I was always like, okay, like tell it. I won't tell them it's boring, but everybody know it's boring. Also, most likely they know it's boring. But now I have the same story, like the tiles and the sinks and everything. It's like so monothematic. I feel like I can only speak about one topic because it's like the most engaging thing that I do right now. So if anyone has any questions outside the renovations and not about tiles and whatnot, I will happily answer those questions, because I I'm kinda fed up with all this stuff. So yeah. Okay, something like this. For paintings like this, I actually would really love to give it to someone who is like a really skilled traditional painter from like landscapes and whatnot, or pretty much just a skilled painter, that he or she would have like time to do like a paint over, but not only like fix this, fix that, but just go over it and like nail down every single error, mistake, or whatever, like the logical type of mistakes or errors. This would be ultra cool because, for example, the next paint over is great. I don't want to take away anything from it, but I wonder how someone who is like extremely skilled in traditional medias would approach something like this, because usually if you are good with paints, with physical paints, you will have the more, let's say, standardized approach. I don't know if it's like a right word to say. I feel you will have more. I'm missing a word. I hope you know what I mean. Also, if anyone knows how to change the color of your nicknames in the chat, I thought it will do itself automatically, but now today every single one of you is like purple. It would be cool to have a different color nicknames. I don't know if you can like set it, or I think on Twitch you can set it, but I have not the slightest clue if you can do this on YouTube. So yeah, it will be cool. If anyone knows how to do it, let me know, because it will save me some time from searching, and all the available time that I have, I like to invest into Elden Ring. I have not been talking about Elden Ring. How this happened? I have not been streaming for a month because of Elden Ring, and now I'm not talking about Elden Ring. What is wrong with me? So I will talk about Elden Ring. I found myself a topic. So the game is an absolute blast. I think this might be one of the best games ever that I played. It's basically Dark Souls but big, which is more than cool. And yeah, the game whooped my ass many times. I am playing the Dex Int build. It's extremely hard. I'm using the Moon something katana right now, so the power of whips is with me. But oh boy, the locations and the designs and everything is so fucking good. I can't really comprehend it. I'm kind of proud of myself in a sense that they are utilizing shitload of caves, and they did some beautiful cave designs in this game. And I was already talking about this with a friend of mine, that in my master thesis about some like world building and stuff, I noticed the lack of usage of caves, like in like large scale caves in games. And the concepts that I have been doing for my master thesis and the general ideas are really similar to what they did in Elden Ring. So I'm really glad that kind of my not suggestions, but my thinking got verified, that indeed it was a good idea, good way of thinking, which is nice. But now I feel a bit more obliged to work on my personal project, and I will do so after I wrap up this challenge, or however to call it. Because I just want to maybe not get rid of it, but I want to finish it, maybe not as fast as possible because I'm just taking fuckload of time with it. And I also want to do it nicely. I don't want to dash through it to finish it as soon as possible, because this way it won't make any sense. I want to kind of like practice the rendering and everything on it. And yeah, but then I want to like fully dedicate this YouTube channel into like my personal project that I want to develop, because I also want to kind of make it a bit more like of a community design type of a thing. So if anyone, I will like upload briefs and whatnot and stuff like this. So if anyone would like to design anything for this world, I would happily open my arms for stuff like this. It will be cool. But for the Elden Ring, this game, I really can't comprehend how cool this game is, especially since I'm a huge Soulborn fan of this type of games. I just enjoy the, as a friend of mine told me that I nicely said it, I like to stressfully distress myself. So I'm, yeah, the stressful way of releasing to get a relief from stress. And I do enjoy it. The game is spectacular. So if any of you is watching this right now or in the future and you are wondering if you should get Elden Ring, absolutely do. I don't even think you need to play Dark Souls 1 or 2 or 3, because this game is just like, it's much more, how to say it, the entry level is lower. You can enjoy this game even if you never played any Dark Souls type of a games or Bloodborne or Demon Souls or whatever, but you just need to be aware of the fact that this is a different game where like dying is a part of the game. The exploration, the dying, the grind sometimes is just inevitable. So you just have to roll with it and just go for it. Okay, for additional design to this guy, I think the face needs much more refinement. The thing that I noticed works really well on the face is keeping some lines sharp as fuck, to put it nicely, and soft. So you do this basically, you basically use this brush, and it does wonders to the faces that you are going to paint, because usually one area will be like nicely lit and then you have this like sharp edge, especially on the things that are kind of ugly, because this dude is not like a model or anything, he's on the uglier side of being a creature. Stuff like this allow you to do a really nice organic type of details and shapes, so it works really nice. And also one of the artists that I think mastered this way of painting is Czubak, Daniel Peacock, and Maxim Verechin. I really like how they did it. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the channel. So nice to see it. Anyone is watching it. If you have any advice on getting quicker at creating illustrations, that depends on what you want to achieve. Like generally, what type of illustrations and everything. But the good thing is to be aware what takes you the most time, because a lot of people that I see, for example, they can paint extremely quick, but they are slow in terms of drawing, and they don't like kind of know it or see it. So when you will be doing like next 5 illustrations, just try to divide it into like phases. So line art, color blocking, rendering, references or whatever. Just track how long certain things take you. And if you, for example, will feel that you are really slow at drawing or at inventing things, just do some pieces where you will strictly just do those. You will exercise the thing that you are slowest at. So this way you can improve on like your slowest areas. The other thing is, as far as I know, is to actually spend way too long on one artwork. So instead of spending like 5 hours on it, try spending 100 hours on it. So at some point you will just develop the way of how can I do this faster, because you will know what your end goal is. And most likely, instead of like me wiggling in here like right now 10 times, I could just go for a brush stroke and call it a day, and it will look fine, because I will know what type of end result I want to achieve, so I can faster achieve it, and I would know what type of quality I'm capable of. Do you use any 3D in your concept? Yes, I do a lot. I use a lot of 3D. Maybe not in concepts that much, mostly in illustration. when I was doing some, but sometimes when I have some problems with foreshortening, mostly with foreshortening and with perspective, because sometimes drawing something from like a weird angle from the below or the faces from below, if the photo is not enough, then I will use 3D as a helper for me to like make my life easier. I generally and genuinely think that if you can use something that will help you, use it, because why not? Like, work smarter, not harder, but sometimes work harder to be able to work even smarter. So yeah. Yeah, the thing is, if the base is good, if the early phase of the painting is good, then the entire painting goes 10 times faster. At work, I have been like working on one illustration, like they gave me the illustration of someone else without like giving you any details whatsoever about the project, yada yada. And they just told me refine, just make it nicer, like do the rendering. And honestly, after like spending 20-30 hours on the painting, refining the details and whatnot, the thumbnail of a starting image to the finished, almost finished image, or maybe finished image, was like, it didn't change much in the thumbnail, apart from the obvious things that I had to redo from the scratch. But for example, the character, it was extremely similar. And it's because anyone who like prepared the base, like the rough rendering, was good enough to make it properly. So all the colors and everything were okay or really close to be turbo okay. And all I had to do was to just refine this, and it looked nice. So yeah, getting the basics right, like spending the extra time to make sure the colors are nice and that the thumbnail reads okay, is a huge time saver. This will be like my number one pick, I would say, at the moment. And not like this here. It's too pointy. I don't like the shape this ear at all. So yeah, but generally speaking, yeah, if you are not struggling to make a living because you are working too slow, maybe try to get paid more by per illustration, so you'll have more time to finish it. Because in the end, if you would ask yourself, you prefer to make one illustration, and let's say, now I'm just imagining numbers, and these are not the rates that you will most likely get, but it is possible. If you want to spend 1 month on one painting and cash $5,000 for it, or if you want to like do 50 illustrations for $100 in a month and cash $5,000 for it, that depends on what you want. But for me, I started to stop worrying about speed. It took me many years to understand that the quality usually comes with time. So if you will spend your share of time on a painting, then it will improve. And the more you will do it, the faster you will get, because some of the things you will like know how to solve on the spot. And so, for example, in here, if I would know how to draw the really nice faces, and if I would know the anatomy, I wouldn't have to go through all the hassle of like searching for references and shit like this. Of course, I will always use references because I do believe they genuinely help me. But for many things, I don't need to use references. I shouldn't need to use references. So practicing the things the skills that I lack in, or you lack in, is the fastest way to improve on your speed. And practicing is just like, yeah. Even now at my workplace, because previously I have been like in the last year till May, I have been mostly freelancing, and not always I have been like consistent with my work. So I had like periods of time where I would not have anything to do for like a month or something like this. I would just practice when I felt like practicing, which was kind of a lot because fortunately I had a let's say, a right mindset to practice when I could. But there were, of course, times when I felt like not doing art because just like felt not doing it. And then getting back to it was kind of hard actually. But now I can't say that I don't want to make art. It's like, this is my task force today and they have to be done. So it's not up to me to feel like doing art or not. Of course, there will be better days and there will be worse days. But now I can't say that, oh no, I'm not working today. Because yeah, I like money. I want to earn money. I want to do my tasks, and I don't want to like let down the rest of the team or to delay the production pipeline. So yeah, yeah. And because of this, because of the fact that I have been working like every single day for a longer period of time, I feel this really improved my speed because I just had to figure things out. Even for simple stuff like this right now, I could like repaint the entire chainmail in here because I like overpainted it and it just looks bad. But I can just copy a piece of it. It looks kind of okay and make it brighter in the area where I want it to be brighter. So yeah, it looks better. And I don't have to like repaint everything all the time. I can just smartly use of the things that I do have. And it does look okay-ish. So yeah. Yeah, and also one thing to get much faster, if you can, if you are able to do so, enroll to some sort of a mentorship with someone who knows those things that you want to learn. Because I honestly personally do not believe in the self-taught artist or something like this because it's impossible to be self-taught nowadays. You have to like live under the rock and be devoid of any like social medias or anything, but yeah, tutorials and everything, and it's not self-taught if you are just going through the tutorial because someone is teaching you but not like one-to-one. Is to find someone who will explain this stuff to you. If I would get someone to explain like let's say colors to me, who is like a god in using colors, most likely I would do more progress in like 1 month than I would do alone within 2 years and 3 years. So yeah. Yeah, of course. Send it. Feel free to send it. You don't have to ask to send it. You know the drill and how and where to send it. So let me open Facebook. Okay, so if you will send it on Facebook, just let me know and I will go through it. So yeah, I saw you were painting something in the Discord, but Elden Ring. Elden Ring made me ignore a lot of the things that I should do. So, or that I could do. So yeah. And I really like one of the memes. Let me find it about the game of the year. About Elden Ring. Wait. Let me find this. This. No, and now I won't be able to find it. But the general idea was Elden Ring is game of the year because play a game, get called bitchless game of the year. Venom. So let me place it here. So And this is Mikoi artwork, and it's Venom, and it looks really cool. So for the things, the eyes looks really good. I really like the eyes. The thing that I would work on is, for example, I would, as always, search for a reference, because the pose that you have is maybe not the easiest to be found, but if you would take any bodybuilder and you will spend some time searching for right reference, most likely you will find it. I'm looking for... Wait, give me a second, because I said it's easy to be found, but it's not that easy as always. This is what happens if you try to say something is easy. This photo might do. Just, yeah, this is too low of a quality to be nice. Give me one more minute, because there are some like... Yeah, and these are also the things that I said about using references and everything. If I would know the anatomy perfectly, I wouldn't have to go through searching the references and stuff like this, because I would know what is incorrect and how to work on it. And this shot is a bit similar. Yeah, but of course this shot is like low quality as fuck. Oh, okay, this one is nice. And it does fit the general vibe. So yeah, this is Kai Green, and he's huge. So let me move this here, because the angle maybe is not identical, but it is kind of similar in terms of the pose. Your camera is facing like from top to the below, to the bottom. This one is from the below. But one of the... yeah, Tarantula, yeah, this is true. But also this is one of the things. Sometimes watching someone who is much better is not a good idea. But the general idea is, it depends what you wanted to show with the character. You might show that he is kind of creepy, so the shot a bit from below is okay. For Venom, I would go for the shot like this from the below, because you will show the size of him and the size and everything. So the first thing is, if this is the shoulder, and in here I can imagine is a second shoulder, like someone in here. He kinda looks like he's doing something like if you can see the things, let me show the delts, but he looks like he's doing something like this, like he's hunching forward and like pulling his shoulders together, because the chest seemed to be a bit of a like collapsed. If he is doing his like this pose where he is like sitting and holding his hands like between him, it's okay. But because this is like this type of a pose, when he does something like this, with his legs like this, then it is okay. But in this type of a shot where it's like basically upper torso, I don't think there's a lot of sense to do a shot like this. So I will kind of show him like with his chest like wide open, like screaming or whatever. And this is the first thing. For the delt, the basic idea of a delt is you have the neck in here. So if you cut the head, this is like a shape of a neck. Here you have those two things on your clavicular bones, the bony protrusions that you have in here. And a clavicular goes kind of like this, kind of like steering wheel of a bike. And in here you have this like a bit of a wider part. This is of course simplification, but you have those things from the scapula that connects to the scapula and whatnot. So here's something like this. And a delt, basically what it does, it goes like this from here, like this to here, and then in the back you have like a scapula, like part of a scapula, and it does connect to the scapula behind it. So the shape that you are looking for is like this. You are looking for this type of a shape. In your case, it's like a line. So I would kinda make this area more obvious. You can see it like in here. There's like this depression in the shoulder, and you can clearly see like this head of basically like you can see this head of Kai Green of the delt. The second head and the third head is like behind those first. So this would go like this, and the third one will go like behind. So this is one of the things. In this case, then of course, like this muscle, it's a bit weird. I never liked this muscle in terms of a shape, because it has this like weird ass thing that it kind of like bends behind. From this angle, it looks weird, but this feels a little bit too round, I would say, and I'm kind of lacking the feeling of the like the cylindrical part in here. But definitely then push the chest out a bit more. It should be a bit more protruding. So again, you can go with the striations. So I would like definitely put it out much more. And for the head, I think a little bit more of the back of the head would be nice. So maybe actually let me paint over it. It might be better. Or maybe not even paint. I might just like be lazy with it. So yeah, with Smudge Tool set to 100%, you can pretty much distort the image quite quickly. I would say the head could get a bit more roundy, or I cannot be lazy in trying to do shortcuts. I can just paint it. So I feel it could get a bit more round. Then the neck could get a bit more massive, and this area could be slightly bigger, and this would cause this protrusion to form in here. It will catch a bit of a light. So I might actually reduce the strength for it. And then the delt coming back from it. Well, so something like this, I think, might be a good idea. I don't think I would hide the rest of the arm. I would suggest some of it to appear. So this way it should be a bit nicer, and the front delt will have more like this type of a shape, I think. Again, I'm not a master of anatomy, but it's a work in progress. And also remember about the shade. If this is a sphere and the highlight is in here, if this is kind of like a part of a sphere, the highlight will be in here. So you need to be consistent with your highlights and everything. Because previously I forgot to duplicate the layer, but you get the idea. You need to have a consistent light source and consistent highlights, because this way it will look bad. And try to work with higher volumes. In here also, this area will be a bit more flat in a sense, a bit more connected. This maybe go like here, and then just add some like different effects to it. For the tongue, it does feel a bit more like if you have like a face from the front. Let's say this is like a open face. Here are the teeth. It kind of feels like the tongue is coming from here, not from the central part. So I definitely would move it a bit more to the left. So this thing should go a bit more in here. And definitely the jaw needs to be stronger. Even in the humans, you can see the jaw is like quite strong, especially if you have like huge ass muscles. So then the jaw will be much stronger. So to just mark it, I feel like you could easily increase the thickness of this area, and to even show the tension. It's true that the venom is like a mutant, so it's not like the muscles in here, but you can still like show this type of a thing in here. So it can kind of look still like the muscles are there, but you can give him this like creepy ass break in the bone. So if you have this bone in here, the smile could go under the shape of a skull. So it kind of suggests the skull is still there, but the shape's open. Further than this, and for the teeth, those are way too delicate. He is a huge dude, and he has a powerful bite. So I feel also the teeth should be much stronger than this. So thicker, and maybe even 2 rows. I don't remember if it has more than 1 row or not, but definitely thicker and not so uniform. One can be like longer, thinner, and stuff like this. I can even imagine him to be able to hide some teeth underneath the tongue, because he's like a symbiont. So I would give him more like creepy ass teeth, kinda like sometimes some fishes have. The teeth in Venom I don't think should go like this. So something like this. I think they should go like forward, so they will be more aggressive. And this way you can also catch some light on them. So I would redo those, and those type of things where you have something that is getting thinner, ultra thin, and thicker again. It looks, well, it's just like stupid. So I would try to keep, now what's happening? Yeah, I would try to keep the consistent thickness. And remember about the geometry. This is now in the front, so this part would be lit. This part might be in the shadow. And again, highlight will be in here somewhere, because it's facing like the camera. And then you can also add the saliva, the spit. So a good way to add a spit is to just take a white color, paint some spit, and reduce the opacity, and go with like the screen. So this when you can add some creepy ass looking spit quite quickly. So yeah, stuff like this. So, and of course you can watch a movie and search for a similar shot in the movie. There is a huge probability you will find almost exact shot. But if you don't want it, then fine. Let me just paste your version. Just compare it. Whoops. Quickly, web. So yeah, I do think it adds a bit more buff to it. And even the collapsed chest does not bother me that much, but I would still like show a bit more light on the top part of the pec. So maybe let me do it now quickly, because the top part of the pec basically is a like shelf if the pectoralis is really nicely developed. So yeah, something like this might happen, but it's a bit too bright. So yeah, I think something like this would be cool. And in the vibe of David Raposa, because he does those type of things all the time, and I do believe he's one of the most popular guys out there who did it a lot, is to add a rim light. It works extremely well for characters like this. So you can just take like a linear dodge add. It works especially well if you are using a color. And you just add this like creepy ass light from the side, because it allows you to really nicely pull out the geometry out of the frame, especially with something that is like organic. Then you will have a lot of this like small lines happening here and there. It will make the entire painting much nicer. So you can do even shit like this, and yeah, on the delts and whatnot. In the black and white, you don't really need to use like linear dodge add, but in the color, with the color, it will work nicely with everything that I do. Anatomy is also my weakness, so don't worry. It's just fake it till you make it. But as you can see, if you add this, maybe even more. If you add this like rim light, no, nothing here. It really pulls the character out of the frame. immediately makes him go like pop. He does go out of the frame because now he's kind of like one light and just eye goes through it and it just disappears. Now it's like properly connects him to the thing. And I do believe really rarely you will see a shot of a Venom head without the rim light. Rim light is like the cinematic way of doing things. So yeah, let me send it back to you. And also for the orientation, because this is a thing that is really often ignored. In our culture, we tend to read from left to right. So if we are having a character to look at us, if he will be facing right and looking at us to the left, it will make a little bit more sense for us to look at the character. It kind of suggests that he is going like forward. If you have something like this, it kind of feels off for me. It's like you start with like a really strong light that basically is stopping your eye in here, like vertically, and then your eyes fall off of the character. And in this setting, you just go from the soft like value, more subtle value changes to the main element. You get stopped by the strong rim light, and then your eyes stopped, like stays in the frame, stays in the painting. So yeah, also consider this with the paintings that you are doing, because sometimes you might like to make something look a bit odd, and you might use it to your advantage, that you are aware of the fact that stuff like this happen. So yeah, this is it. This for this. I also think I might add some texture to the skin. Even color burn might be cool, like on a lower. Yeah, no problems. Anytime. The color burn actually works really nice to add a bit more noise to the character in here. Yeah, but also for the face, I should. It's not much, but it does nice. Let me duplicate him, and let me add some like fine highlights, because if you are on a desert, like not on a desert, but on a place that is really hot, I can imagine you're maybe sweaty or your skin is really oily. Either way, I need to do those on a separate layer. Either way, your skin is going to shine a bit more. So adding stuff like this might actually be a nice idea to show the material. Also, it will add some like fine details and allow me to bring the focal point more to the head. So stuff will like reflect from the gums, from the tongue. It's subtle, but it works. Another thing that you can do that also is really nice, but also will take a lot of time to do, is to add the layer of like thin hair on the side. It will slightly soften the character, but on the human face you have like a lot of hairs. Like basically the entire body is covered with hair. Hair, however to say it. So adding those also on the character might not be immediately visible, but it might give this like this small oomph into the painting. So I'm giving him a bit of a like hair. Even like if you have an animal that is like bald or Asmongold, you will have you will have some hair like going here and there, like protruding. So this is one of the details that I always really liked, and I always felt is really often overlooked in a lot of fantasy stuff. Is, for example, the hair on the thighs, or the hair on the arms, or the hair anywhere. Like, a lot of people forget that even humans have quite a lot of hair on their hands. Even if you would like look like this now, I do have a bit of a hair in here and on my hand or whatever. So I actually feel this is a nice way to add some like finishing touches to the character, and also slightly brighten some areas up, because sometimes, even if the value is correct, you might be missing those small details, this small something. And I feel as I said, the hair is one of those, because in the darker areas, those will be a bit more visible, especially if they are like white or really bright, or even colorless. They will then... Did the screen froze again? Well, the entire Photoshop decided to crash, or what? No, it is saving. Oh yeah, it decided to work. Because if the hair are translucent, oh, this was the word, they will catch the light in a bit of a different way. So adding those on the edges might actually kind of work as a subtle small glow. I have not a single clue why, but Photoshop started working like shit again. It's amazing that they managed to destroy perfectly good software. The funny thing with Photoshop is sometimes I just need to like push it through something heavy. So for example, when it starts to lag, I just start to spin it, and when the spin starts to work again nicely, it sometimes happens to just work again however I want to make it work. I have no idea what causes it for the sudden like drops of the frames in Photoshop. I have not the slightest clue. If you know, also let me know, and I don't know, write to Adobe, because the fact that the computer that I have is not able to like run perfectly smoothly like one file is baffling. I don't have like the most powerful machine on the world, but it should be more than enough to run PS without any problems whatsoever. But yeah. And apparently the Photoshop can also only utilize one graphic card, if any. So if you even have a build that has like, I don't know, 10 graphic cards, Photoshop will only use one. Because we live in the 21st century, 2022, they can't make the Photoshop utilize the resources like in a good way. I have not the slightest clue what is causing the Photoshop to lag so much. Let me turn off any unnecessary shit that I have. Also, sometimes I feel like if I switch from one app to another, so for example, if I go from Photoshop, that works fine, and then I will switch to, for example, Facebook or whatever, like the PC starts to treat Photoshop as something that does not need a memory or whatever, and it's just like starts lagging. Ass cheeks. Ass needs to be sharp. I have no idea if this is the case. Yeah, it does work like shit. Let me reopen the file. Yes, I do want to save it. This one. Yeah. it still does work like shit. So as you can see, even the zoom is like really scrubby. It's just like lagging. Maybe it's actually an information for me to stop the stream right now because we are getting closer to 2 hours. So I might wrap it up and I will try to figure out what is causing the lags. But yeah, let me just connect those. And do I have the version we started with today? No, I don't. Okay, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this is the progression that we have made. And I might try to maybe get some additional feedbacks on this one from friends of mine, and then I will improve on it further because I do like this guy. I want to make this painting nice. So thanks for watching, and subscribe, like, share, comment on the video. This, I believe, will be the most helpful thing. So if you can comment, I do have a list of any of you who was commenting in the chat, so I will remember who commented, who not. This is a thread. And yeah, there is also a Discord server, so if anyone wants to join a Discord and send some stuff for paintovers or for general critique, feel free to do so. Maybe on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will do a stream where instead of doing this, I will just go through your paintings and just do, I don't know, free artworks, critique them, share my thoughts. This will be also refreshing. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a nice day, evening, night, whatever. And see ya to the next time.